you. You don't find it yourself. It's important to be informed, but wake up in the morning, have a set time that you say, I'm going to spend 10 minutes checking the news, and then don't let it be there. But if you're constantly scrolling and finding, and the news is just finding you, you have more reasons to be anxious, stressed, nervous. So I like to be informed. I like to know what's happening in the world. I think it's important, but I have set times in the day when I know I'm good at managing stress. By the way, that's not first thing when you wake up and last thing when you go to bed. It's finding a time in between when you've had a moment to regulate to say, yeah, I'm going to check my news at 9 a.m. Yeah, I'm going to check the news at 6 p.m., but I'm not going to check it just when I wake up and just before I go to bed.
So good. So good. It's more of it controlling you to you control what you take in, when you take in, and be in a state of mind where you can be subjective and look at both sides rather than there's nothing worse. I've been doing it for years. The worst thing in the world is to wake up in the morning and look at your phone. I feel like it's Russian roulette. There could be a text you don't like. There could be an email you don't like. There could be news you don't like. Rather, you set the intentions. Now, I'm going to switch a little bit, something maybe slightly tactical. But when it comes to social media trends, you watch so many things change and shift, but I really like when I watch somebody like you two that stay grounded and true to your passions and still growing and still following new people following you. And of course you have momentum. It all starts at zero. I get that. But what tips would you give someone who's just getting started on social media? And like you said earlier, maybe they're at the 10 people. You hope 1,000 people come watch it someday, but they're at the 6, 10, 15, 20, and it seems like so far away. So what advice would you give?
So great question. The first thing I'd say is, Dean, is you can't be a multi-platform person in the beginning. You've got to very quickly figure out the platform that connects with your audience, that really resonates with you, that you feel you have an impact on. When I started my career, that platform was Facebook, believe it or not. Today, that platform is Instagram and TikTok. For someone else, it might be YouTube. And I think the challenge we have is we're like, oh no, I want to be everywhere because that's what I see everyone who's doing it well. So the first thing is pick your platform based on where your natural audience is and what your skill set is. The second thing I'd say is know your genre, and I'll explain what I mean by that. The New York Times released an article where they analyzed 7,000 pieces of viral content, and they found that the only things that go viral are content that makes you feel something, not makes you learn something, not makes you do something, content that makes you feel something. And it had to make you feel one of these 5 things: adventure, humor, negativity, inspiration, or surprise. If after finishing a video or reading a quote, you don't feel adventure, humor, negativity, inspiration, or surprise, it will not spread. So I always ask myself, how do I feel after watching this? If I don't feel anything, it doesn't matter how much I taught you. It doesn't matter how much value I gave you. If you don't feel, we're humans, we want to feel something. So when we see a little baby like doing something really cute, you feel something. When you see a person helping someone else out, you feel something. There's a reason. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is discover your role. You talked about this earlier when you talked about going on stage and traveling with Tony. Some of us are brilliant on stage. Some of us are better as interviewers than we are as interviewees. Some of us are good when it's just us and a camera. Some of us are good when we're being followed around. The problem is when you're trying to be like everyone else and you don't know your lane. I remember seeing a speaker on stage once. He was brilliant on stage, but every time he turned the camera on, he didn't know how to be interesting because that wasn't his vibe. And I said to him, just video yourself on stage, cut it up, and start putting it on the internet because you're brilliant on stage. And so I think a lot of us don't figure out the format that suits us. We're trying to follow the trend, and that doesn't work because you may not flourish in that environment.
Oh my God, that was so good. I wrote it down as quick as I can. Thank God I'll have the recording of this. But it's such a great self-filter. Right? When you look at your own video, you go, I'm glad I did that, but does it have one of these 5 things? Did we make someone feel? That is so valuable, and that only comes after years of doing it, years of obsessing on it, reading, studying, practicing. So thank you for that wisdom. So good. Last question. the people that are here today are at a place where they say, can I really turn my life experience, my skill, my passion, the thing I obsess over, could I really turn that into a business? Some are wondering do I really have enough? Could I really create a business that was filled with passion? What would you say to someone who's like, I think I can do this. Maybe I should do this. What would, now that you're on the other side of being in this world, what would you say to them?
I would say you have to do something to become better at it. Don't wait till you're perfect or brilliant at it. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I have learned through this whole process is the process makes you better and the process creates perfection in the way that you want it. But waiting to accumulate perfection before you do something means someone else will try it and probably get it right before you do. So I think I would say even do before you think too much. Like as soon as you get an idea, just act on it. As soon as you decide that this crazy idea could be something, figure out what the process is and start with step one. I think don't wait till you have everything in the basket before you give it a go.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And Dean, just to add to that, I'd say really, truly care about the 10 followers you have, the 100 followers you have. Like ask them questions, understand their needs, get to know them. You can only build something that helps people if it helps one person, right? There's a reason why companies that are serving millions of people across the world can do that is because they figured out what people needed, when they needed it, how they wanted it. And so the more we start to learn through our community, even if it's 10 people, you could have a really successful business serving 10 people properly. Right? I think we often feel like building something means I've got to have millions of followers, I've got to have millions of views. And it's like, that's great if it comes, but you can have an amazing business serving 10, 20, 30 customers, maybe serving 50 customers. And so I think you can actually have a successful business starting much smaller than you believe. And your passion truly can be a business if you're willing to get to know people, if you're willing to care, if you're willing to research and sit with them and understand their challenges, their stresses, and their pains.
All I can say is thank you. I hope all of you at home have been taking notes like crazy. Jay, Roddy, thank you for coming by. Thank you for coming by and inspiring and sharing. It's been incredible what you guys have done. I'm so glad you shared your life experiences, your passions, and so glad you turned it into a business. Everybody, could we please give a huge thank you and light up the chat for Jay and Roddy.
Thank you so much, Dean.
Yeah, Dean, thanks for having us. Thank you so much.
I see you, Astrid. So good. Hey, Dan, rocking it out again today. I see you, Linda, Debbie, Steve, what's going on? Jenny's rocking it out. I see you, Joy. What's happening? I love those two. Light up the chat so they know. How cool, things that really stand out. What if they never shared their gifts, right? Think about it. A monk and somebody who's a nutritionist, that's not the path that they thought. They just found something that called to them. Like, I don't think anybody starts and says, someday I'm going to be in this business. I think you're called. You're pulled to this industry. Who's feeling a calling or a pull to this industry when you watch what's possible, right? And I was thinking about it. What if they never shared those gifts? But then I was thinking, what if you never share yours? There's people waiting right now for you to share your experience. And maybe they can't hear it from anybody but you. When you start thinking through that lens, it starts to feel like an obligation to share what you know, to help people go faster, doesn't it? A fun obligation, right? A couple of things. I love what Roddy said. Just do it. Don't wait for perfection, because the perfection comes when you're already in. She said, almost do and act before you think. Isn't that really similar to what Jillian said yesterday? Just do, move. Like, I think we're all waiting for the epiphany. Like, oh, it's perfect now. I see you, Gio, with your little daughter there. You might be thinking, oh, when the kids are a perfect age and the time is a perfect right and the sun is setting perfectly, right? That's like having kids. If you waited till everything was perfect to have kids, none of us would have them, right? And when you realize once you have them, the time you did was perfect. I love that saying, and it's worn out, but I say it all the time. When's the best time to plant a tree? Probably like 5 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today. So maybe it was better. Maybe you should have started your own thing 5 years ago. Can't go back, so who cares? Maybe there was lessons in there that the universe needed you to learn. So why not now? So good. Everybody having a good morning? All right, you ready for some lesson? I'm going to get into my first lesson of the day. But I have a question for you. And this usually gets some mixed answers. But I love to ask this. I've been asking it for decades now. But does money solve problems? Put in the chat. Does money solve problems? Yeah, it's usually about 50-50. Yes and no. Yes, no, no, no. Yes, yes. Sometimes. So this is the way I like to think of it. Could making more money maybe retire your parents? Or end an unfulfilling or a horrible job that your spouse or someone you love has, or you have? Maybe you make sure your kids are okay when you're gone, no matter what happens to the world. Maybe you eat healthier. Maybe you finally have time to work on you and the stuff you dealt with when you were a kid. You see, I think sometimes we think money is evil. Money is not evil unless it's earned unethically and then spent in a bad way. But when you earn money ethically and you share it in a great way, it's what makes this world rise. I heard somebody say once, if you don't think money creates happiness, then you haven't given enough away. Isn't that a cool, yeah, I see you, Joy. You're like, ooh, right? Isn't that a good one? If you don't think it creates happiness, then you haven't given enough away. So I have shifted my thoughts. I love being partners with Tony. I mean, if you knew what this guy does behind the scenes, when the fires happened in California here in the States, if you're not in the States, we had horrible fires. Tony calls me out of the blue and says, hey, there's a lot of wealthy people that can afford to go some places. A lot of houses were lost. They don't even have money for Airbnb. Hey, why don't we send $1 million over to Airbnb and give credits to people who can't afford it? I'm like, let's do it. Like, I'm not saying that he did most of it. I did a big portion of it. He did even more on top of that. When you realize that if you have the opportunity to grow and impact, we could talk about what we did earlier. You could do both. You could create income, have a better life for yourself while simultaneously doing well for others. And I know that's the kind of group I have here, right? Who'd like to do well so you could do good for others is also, right? So when we talk about money, I like to get it out of the way, because if money does solve problems and sales creates money, that means that selling solves problems. And I like to think through that lens as we start today, because I think I can make you fall in love with selling in the next 20 minutes. Who would like to fall in love with selling in the next 20 minutes? Right? I want to give you a little perspective. Maybe you could share with me. You could put yes in the screen. If you could put no if you want to, but who's glad you're here? What has already impacted you? Did you learn something from myself or Jillian or Tony or Jay and Roddy or something we shared yesterday? Who's glad that we got you here, right? But the truth is, and I want you to hear me this, even though there's a lot of value, we still had to market and persuade you to get here. You guys saw an ad, you got an email, somebody suggested you come here, we posted on social. So even though it excites us for you to be here, because we know an event like this could change your life forever. I told you I can read your future for the people who go all in. You could be one step ahead, not two steps behind. As much as we love this, did we still have to persuade you to come, yes or no? Right? And I'm glad we did, because if we didn't, what if you missed this? That would have been a way bigger disservice if we didn't go find you and get you to attend. I love what we do here. So therefore, I love marketing and I love sales, because I can get you to say yes to a bigger future. Who'd like to have that commitment? So you know what you're doing changes lives, that you feel bad if you don't get a yes, right? All right, let's get to lesson number 1. You guys ready to do some work? Okay. How to fast track your first sale, next sale, and then consistent sales, right? So depending where you are right now, it really doesn't matter on this journey. It could be brand new, part-time, you're in this business, you're ready to scale. We're all on the same journey. So this should bring all of us together. You'll want to get your first sale, and after your first sale, you get next sales, and then you make it consistent sales. So let's start by showing you how to find your ideal client. But first, I got to share a little story from my childhood. I grew up in this little town in upstate New York. It was a farm town. Most people don't think of New York, if you're not from upstate New York, you think of New York as just the city, but it's a huge farm state once you get out of the city. And I grew up in this little farm. I remember having a conversation with a farmer. His name was Mark, and he was talking about how his business is successful. And it's really been the foundation for me for so many businesses I've created. It was wisdom from an amazing farmer, right? And those farmers, you got to watch them. They're amazing. They seem like they're shucks. They're some of the best businessmen on the planet. But anyway, he explained to me that there's different kinds of crops. There's a quick crop, and he said that was lettuce. He said that's when we want to put cash in the money, or put cash in the bank, money in the bank, kind of quick. Especially when we're kicking off the spring, we haven't done much all winter. If we plant lettuce, we can plant it every 20 days. So every 20 days, they plant it, harvest it, plant it, harvest it. They get 5 or 6 turns over a summer. Now, you're like, I didn't come here to be a farmer, but I promise this is all going to make sense, right? So lettuce is like the quick cash, like the bring some money in. Does it make sense? And then he said, secondly, a little more reliable and more money is summer corn. Summer corn's really reliable, and we can get 2 turns, meaning they can plant it in the spring, harvest it in the middle of summer, plant again, and harvest in the fall, right? But then the long-term success was apple trees. Because an apple tree, you plant an apple tree, it looks like this pen, it looks like a stick. A year and a half later, there's no tree, there's no apples. You got to be in for the long haul, but once an apple tree starts producing apples, it does for 100 years. And that's where the combination of success lives. And some of the things, the reason I wanted to share that, because we get confused sometimes thinking something is lettuce, but it's actually an apple tree, right? If we planted an apple tree on Monday, 20 days later, if we're used to lettuce and we look out and say, not one apple on those trees, somebody go mow them down. They're broken. They're useless. Some of us approach social media that way. I posted a video 2 weeks ago. I am not viral. I'm never doing this again, right? It's not lettuce, it's an apple tree. I see you, Denise, laughing, right? But I wanted to share that analogy because it will really help with this first lesson. So let's talk about the different ways to find your ideal client, right? So yesterday we talked about what you were going to share, who you were going to share it with, how you could deliver it, what are some of the teaching topics you could teach, how Gigi could help you with all of it. Now we got to go find the people that want it. So let's go over the whiteboard. Again, I did a lot of whiteboard stuff this year. I hope it's landing for you guys. But if you think about a marketplace, okay, that's your first one. A marketplace, and they are growing. In fact, we'll talk about ours here in a little bit. But a marketplace to me is like lettuce, right? Think of Amazon for books, right? Or say Etsy for a product. There's already books there, there's already product there, and people are going to that site looking for things, true? So these are marketplaces online where you could sell your course, your coaching product, your mastermind, your group, etc., because people are already going there looking for it. And again, I'll give you some examples of this later on. But people already go there because they want a knowledge product, right? And let me give you an example. This is a prime example. This is Jessica. She's one of our students. She suffered from camera phobia. She had anxiety and panic around cameras. Isn't it cool? Sometimes you go through a mess, it becomes your message. Well, after years of practicing, getting herself over her own fears, she got so good at it that she started teaching others how to be better on video. She launched her course and got her first sale on the Mastermind Marketplace. We'll talk about that more in a moment, in record time. Now she's up to 775 sales because she got in front of a marketplace where people are already going there looking, and I truly believe this is getting more and more popular. In fact, we have a quick little clip from Jessica that she just sent in. I thought it'd be cool to play it.
It was August 4th, 2022, just a random day. And I woke up and I got an email. Purchase performed. I made a sale. Now, I had launched my course about a month prior on July 5th. And so I was waiting for this moment, and I didn't expect this feeling, which was, well, first, I was very excited, right? But it all clicked because I had made money overnight to somebody in a different country. And I was like, wait, I mean, I can make money while I'm sleeping And my storefront is worldwide. After years of being an entertainment reporter and having to show up to get paid, I could produce one thing and get paid on it repeatedly. This was an incredible idea.
Well, she's obviously good on camera now. Jessica, thank you. I know you're watching today. Isn't that an amazing story? And again, I'm not saying you put your site on a marketplace and then your keyboard becomes a cash machine. You got to go through the process. But when she did, and she put it on a marketplace where people are already going, the sales started. So that's why we called it Lettuce. Okay, next. Does that make sense? Marketplaces. We'll talk more about them in a little bit and where to find them. The next one is your warm network. I said this yesterday, but when you love something, do you love to share it? You guys ever have a great meal? You ever share raise your hand if you share a great meal or a restaurant with a friend. Or raise your hand if it would be a book or a movie. Oh my God, you got to see this movie. Makes you laugh, makes you cry. Do you share it? Well, when you fall in love with your product, is it hard to talk about or easy to talk about? Right? Isn't it easy? You can't shut up about it. But it's not as complicated as you think to tap into your warm network, because it's not just who you know, it's also who they know. See, now that you have your solution statement, it's easier than you could ever imagine to utilize your warm network and their friends. It's incredibly simple. Pick someone you think could benefit from what you have to offer. They most likely know others who could benefit from the same thing, and then send them an email or a text or FaceTime message, right? In fact, here, I'd like you to hold on, let's do this. Bring this up if you could. This is a message that I wrote, and we got this from one of our students. I'm going to share here in a minute, right? So think about this, and this was a student of ours that sent this exact message. Hey, Emily, I hope you're doing amazing. I'm excited to see you next week at our son's swim meet. I'm reaching out because I'm not sure if you heard, but I recently started a new venture. Now, this was not a guy. This was one of our ladies who has a business helping others through menopause. She said, I help women over 50 navigate menopause with more ease while avoiding the common struggles and setbacks that can come with it. And I was just curious. Would you happen to know of anyone who's over 50, who's dealing with menopause, and might be looking for a simple, helpful way to do this? Now, who could see themselves sending out a message like that? Right? Something you're really passionate about, right? And let me just say, put in the chat where you think you could find somebody to do that, right? Is it friends and family? Could it be colleagues or an alumni group? How about a former coworker or former boss, church or spiritual communities? Right? Parents from kids that you go to school with, or school activities out, neighbors and local communities, hobby group, meetup groups, fitness groups, seeing people at the gym. Look at all these great things coming in where you could get more reliable sales, because when you produce something great, it spreads. Somebody gets results, they go, oh my God, dealing with Dan changes everything. Dealing with Gia or Fernandez or Bruce or Steven or Gilbert. Oh my God, I got their thing and it shifts. Look at this. Social media, church, friends and family, my ladies group, right? The importance of networking, friends of the community and neighbors, groups and Saturday breakfasts. So when people talk about, listen, I can't wait for you to scale. I can't wait for you to be doing thousands of sales all over the world on a regular basis. But when you start getting momentum, when you start making sales, everything changes. Now, that letter, I just wrote it. We just, had it quick. We took one of our students. But you could write that same simple thing. Take Nate, for example. If you can pull this up. Nate got laid off during COVID. He was in sales. He said, what am I going to do? I'm home. He decided to create a coaching program to help other sales managers. Didn't know where to start because he wasn't an influencer. He said no one knew his name. So he reached out to a business owner. Well, he reached out to a lot of them. And finally got one person to give him a recommendation. In fact, he sent us a quick video as well. I think this is great. You're going to love this. Watch Nate.
So back in March of 2020, it was actually on my birthday, March 26th, I got laid off from my job. And we had just found out a couple days before that my wife was pregnant for the first time since we had gone through a really tough miscarriage a few years before. And I didn't want to add any additional stress. I didn't want to add any additional pressure. So I did the only thing I knew how to do. I reached out to my warm network. And so here's the cool thing. You may be thinking that in order to thrive, you have to have everything. You have to have the camera, you have to have the mic, you have to have the studio, all the great stuff, all the great ideas. But we started literally with a craft piece of paper. And this piece of paper right here, I actually keep in my gym as a reminder that you can start small, that you can start simple, that it doesn't need to be complex. Because this craft piece of paper here is literally a list of actions that I was going to do every single day based off of what I was learning from Dean and Tony. And that warm network I mentioned is right here. I had a bigger list, but these were the top 10, the top 5, 6, 7, however many it is there, that I was going to reach out to. And you can see this second one on the list actually has an X on it because that was the person who said yes. That was that first person that when I reached out and I said, this is the type of person I'm looking to help, this is the type of outcome I'm looking to get them. Do you know anybody that would be interested? He said yes. And he connected me with his VP, and that person put me in front of their sales team, and I trained the very first team that I trained on my own. Now that team introduced me to more people, and those people introduced me to more people, and that one warm network that I started with turned into a 6-figure business.
Is that amazing or what? I watch that. It makes the hair stand up on my arms. And sometimes you have to have your back against the wall to do it. But what I'd say is, I'd like to shake you and go, you don't have to have your back against the wall to live into who you're meant to be, right? I've had the chance to get to know Nate, and he's just such an awesome human. I love his little daughter. His wife is amazing. It's incredible that these are strangers that were on a screen just like this, and someday they end up either at the office or you see them at an event. So do you see how between having a marketplace, especially a good marketplace where people are already going, and then tapping into the warm network? Raise your hand if tapping into your warm network isn't scary at all anymore, right? You listed all the places. So what I'd say is before we go on to this third one, I would write down the first place that you are going to, or the first person or the first place you're going to reach out to once your product is ready. Okay? You should write that down. Now the third one, right? We talked about consistent sales, right? If we go from kind of lettuce and summer corn, I like to think of this as apple trees. Even though it can happen quick, it builds year after year. You might get a couple apples right away, but an apple tree grows and gets bigger. Believe me, I like talking about apple trees because they were everywhere where I grew up, right? As a kid, I used to just sit in apple trees and eat them so much until my stomach hurt, right? But what's good about social media is that you got 1 million eyeballs and people are already going there. What's bad about it is most people don't know how to attract the person that could learn from you. That's just the only problem. The eyeballs are there. The connections are there. Billions of people around the world, they're there. So I want to give you a little training here. Let's do a little work. It's called 3 Eyes. 3 Eyes. You ready? First, once you know your solution statement, once you narrow down your dot, we call it your niche, right? The person that lives in that dot from yesterday, when we narrow it down, that's what we call your ideal client. That's the person most likely to go, heck, I need this, right? We talk about menopause before. It's not just women. It's not just women going through menopause. It's women going through menopause that want to heal it naturally and want to work on things naturally, right? We talk about all the different ways, right? Nate, he wasn't just looking for salespeople. He was looking for sales managers who wanted him to come in and coach their team, right? So we narrow it down. But then what happens sometimes when we go on social media, we have too many messages. The first I is intrigue them. Intrigue. If we want to attract people that could eventually want our product, then we have to intrigue them in that area. Sometimes people go on social and one day it's a picture of food, one day a picture of her family, one day a picture of your kids, one day it's date night, one day it's a travel, it's this. It's so spread out that it's not specific enough. You can alter a little, but if you have an area that you know you can help people in, then say and share things intriguing. Share how to make the first sale, how to feel healthier, how to quit smoking, how to speak the language, how to do the thing, how to be better at hair, how to start the accounting business, how to find purpose again after children, right? If you start intriguing them, then people start going, oh, I like this. And I do what Jay Shetty shared. You heard what Jay shared? Pick one. Pick one outlet. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, just pick one for now. And you're going to create that intriguing message. And if you start, remember it's apple trees. It's not coming in quick. It might take a little while. But when you start putting out intriguing information, I promise people are going to find you, and then they're going to tell their friends who tell their friends, and it's going to start to grow. And then people are going to say, hey, that was awesome. So the next I, once they say that was awesome, the next I is interact with them. It's interact. You intrigued them with something you shared. They said it was cool. Now say, oh, glad you liked it. How come this landed with you? What are you going through? What are your goals? So now you intrigued them, you interact with them. And the third thing is you invite them. Invite them. You invite them to check out your course, to check out your coaching program, to go look at your YouTube channel, your Facebook. If you intrigue, interact, then the third I is to say, come, go, call to action, invite them. Does that make sense? So if you've ever tried on social media and it hasn't worked, I would bet to say you just weren't focused enough, right? You were trying a lot of things and maybe you did a couple. It's like you planted a couple apple trees here and a couple there and they didn't produce fruit, so you just mowed them down, right? Find some consistency. And here's the cool part. The next evolution of consistent sales. See, here's what I love about this. All three of these would cost you zero money to acquire that client. It's before you spend $1 in advertising. That's the strategy. And I know some of you are already in this game. That means you got to polish the diamond here. But this is how you guys can get proof of concept and start having sales coming in without spending $1. But eventually, this social media triple I formula will produce certain videos that get more traction, they get more likes, they get more interaction. True? Anybody have a post, even if you got 10 followers, one that gets more than anything else? Right? Do we all have that? And do we all have social media? Raise your hand if you have social media. I want to see if you're awake today. Is anybody not raising their hand? Right? We all have social media, right? Well, just think about this. As you're posting within your niche, eventually some are going to get more traction. Guess what they become eventually? They become your ads. If you're going to spend money, you spend the money on the ones that get the most traction. Does that make sense? Let's pull this slide up. Olga, she once petrified of social media, which a lot of people are, I get that. But she had a passion in meditation. She always believed in her ability to help others, but doubted anyone would listen to her. With the help of our team, she crafted a solution statement, and then she hit posts for the first time with her 3I strategy. And after a few days, well, she got a couple apples right away. In fact, we got one last quick video here of Olga.
I was never on the social media before. I only was registered, had an account, and was just a reader. I never posted because I was petrified of social media. So having that very narrow dot and having that solution statement that we crafted helped me go out into the world. I was petrified when I hit the post button, and I get 2 real life clients. Before that, I had mostly clients from my network, people who I knew, but those were 2 brand new clients based on my posting. I was excited and petrified all at the same time.
I love that. Who could see the excitement and petrified all at the same time? We had someone on last year. She came on live. We called her up, and we'll do some live stuff in the next couple of days. But she said her first time she made a post, she hit submit, and she slammed down her computer and physically ran out of her house. She's like, Francesca, I see you laughing. She physically, I see you guys all laughing. She physically ran out of her house, and she walked the neighborhood for like 15 minutes. She's like, I'm not looking. And the cool part for her, she opened it up, and she was doing a class, and she had 3 of people that she knew registered for the class. And you know what one of them said to her? It's about time you're doing this. How freaking cool is that? Sometimes all that fear, all that BS lives in here. Other people are waiting for you to do it, right? So I just loved that from Olga. Thank you for sharing. But guys, can you see how finding the right marketplace, tapping into your warm network and the people they know, and start with social media, you see how that could start producing sales for the people who need and want what you have? Say yes if that's true, right? I'm so excited to share something with you because, boy, have things changed. Social media has always been a great place to get started, always a great place to plant the seeds, to plant the apple trees. But let's be honest, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. What pictures, what headlines, what should I say, where should I post, what time of day should I post? So we are always looking for cutting edge technology for us. Like, how do we go faster? How do we do things better? If you've seen my social lately, I think it's exponentially growing. It's getting better and better. And I didn't used to go so obsessive on it because there's technology that can allow us to, what took a long time in the past can take minutes now. And I just want to give you guys a glimpse of where the world is going, especially when it comes to things like social media. Can we play that video?
Most people don't fail at social media because they don't have great ideas. They fail because they don't have a plan, a process, or the time to execute it all. They're stuck in the old way. But what if there was a new way? The truth is that visibility, influence, and impact aren't just about posting more. It's about posting the right content in the right way with the right strategy. But what if it was this simple? What if you could just answer a few simple questions about your business and your brand, and AI could build your entire strategy, automatically choosing the best platforms, best posting times, and best content types based on your goals and who will resonate the most? What if there was a social media co-pilot that automatically generated image posts that are beautifully designed with captions and hashtags, carousel posts with step-by-step tips and eye-catching layouts, short-form video clips with engaging text overlays and auto-generated subtitles, and even hook-driven captions designed for maximum engagement? And then all you do is click one you like, hit approve, and then it's sent over to your social media planner for scheduling and automatic posting. And what if, for the first time, content creation could feel effortless? What used to take hours, days, or even weeks is now possible in a fraction of the time, because now you're on the cutting edge with the right tools and the right strategy to make it happen.
Isn't that so freaking cool that this is where we are? I mean, you gotta understand something. If this is new to you, imagine something that you spent every day of your life, almost 30 years, geeking out on, which I have. Tony, for 46 years, geeking out on this industry and how to make impact. And all of a sudden, there's these two new freaking tools that allow you to get more impact, change more lives, get in front of more people, and cover those weaknesses. I mean, literally, what we're trying to help people do, and when you see that, and don't worry, I'm going to share with you later how you could be using that tonight. No stress. Don't go look for it. We did all the research. But how cool is it that the more we can utilize guidance and technology to drive back to us personally? Because here's what I know. AI can be the tool to allow you to go faster, but it's not going to replace you. It's not going to replace the human touch, the personal story that you have. So if you can use it to bring more people to your personal experience, oh my gosh, all it does is just amplify what we all do. Cool? Who's excited about what's possible? I know I might geek out at more than you, but it's been a long time, and watching this is so cool. So now that you see where you can find your ideal client, your first sale, next sale, consistent sales, we talked about that on the board. Now it's time to understand how to get them to enthusiastically and ethically to say yes. And I broke this down into what I'm calling the YES method. So you guys ready for lesson number 2? Who's ready for lesson number 2? Raise your hand. Come on. I know it's learning. I know it's not as exciting as Tony pulling all the amazing emotions into your heart, but this is the stuff we got to do to actually make the money and make the impact. Okay, lesson number 2. How do you get people to say yes through the YES method? Now, before I get right into it, we talked earlier about how sales can solve problems, right? And then once you understand how to sell through service, you're going to realize anything is possible. But I want to soften it a little by saying a few things. What if Gandhi never sold the world on the concept of nonviolent resistance? What if Oprah never sold people on personal growth or the power of self-belief, right? What if Steve Jobs never sold the future no one could even see when he thought of Apple? I want you to think of selling again, like that favorite book or movie that can change lives, is when you know something changes someone's life, you should be you should have no hesitation. In fact, you should feel bad about not sharing it. When you follow what I'm about to share with you, you'll realize that not selling and not getting a yes is actually the biggest disservice of them all. And why would you hide your impact or your legacy? Right? You're put on this earth for more, right? Because if you don't share, if you don't market, if you don't take the strategies to get a yes, not only will life stay the same, but only two things can happen to your future ideal client. You see, if you don't share your message, your story, your skill, then maybe they do nothing and their life remains the same, or worse yet, they buy from someone who doesn't care. These are the things I think about. I know what Tony and I create is the best, so I'm doing you a disservice if I don't get you to this event, a disservice if you don't work with us, because either you do nothing, or maybe you buy somebody down the street and they don't care as much as us. When you realize selling is service, the byproduct will be a business that's impactful, a business that grows, and a business that gives you success. So let's dive into the yes message. So the first why, the yes method, I should say, the first why is your message matters. Number one, I'll go through these fairly quick, but I want you to, when I laid these out, I want you to think about the difference between science and art. Okay? So follow me back over here. To me, this is the science. This is the delivery systems. This is where you find your ideal people. They're already hanging out here. They want what you have. They're already hanging out here. So that's the science. Does that make sense? Now I want to teach you the art. The art is the messaging. The art is the thing to get people to go, yes, I want to work with you. Karen, I want to work with you, right? So pull the slide up. The first one is enter conversations already in their mind. So what does this mean? Meet people where they are. They're already having conversations. If they're your ideal client, they're already talking about it. They already think about it. And you got to remember, you got to meet people in the area of what they want. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But you got to enter their conversation. Sometimes we just have our own conversation. So what I'd say is go hang out where your ideal client is. I bet you there's a Facebook group, there's a community, there's a social media. There's something where your future clients hang out. See what they're saying so you can meet them where they are. Is that clear enough? I'm hoping that was clear enough. Makes sense. Thanks, Tanya. Number two, this was a big one. This one literally changed my life. This is how you take away feeling like a salesman and feel like someone who can't wait to serve. Because people buy from you when they feel understood, not when they understand you. I want you to hear that. People buy from you when they feel understood. Have you ever watched a speaker or a presenter or maybe a podcast and you really were like, you watch what they said, and you're like, that's cool, they did cool stuff. But you didn't feel inspired, you didn't feel connected with them, you just were, good job, right? Attaboy. But did you ever watch another speaker or someone talking and you feel like they're reading your journal at night? They feel like they understand your pain, they understand what you're going through, right? Tony Robbins did that to me 30 years ago. He's watching like, I know, thank you, you got me. Are you reading my journal at night? Like, is it online? There was no online, but you know what I'm saying. So you really need to let people feel understood. Again, you're going to meet them where they are. You're going to enter conversations in their mind and let them feel understood. Like, I got you. I know what it feels like to go through menopause. I know what it feels like to have trauma as a child. I know what it feels like after you give birth and you feel like your life isn't yours anymore. I know what it's like the first day on the job of wanting to sell and you don't know what to do first. I know what it's like to be an accountant and you want to start your own accounting business, but you don't know where to start first. I know. You let people go, oh, that's because people aren't buying your expertise. They're buying your experience. Make sense? I know we're going through this kind of quick. This is the art. And the last one, because your message matters. Sell them what they want, but make sure to also deliver what they need. Think about this. If you want somebody to start a business and they've never done it before, they need all the business plans, true? But do they also need a certain mindset to go from career to solo entrepreneur? Do you need a shift in mindset? I see you, Audrey, right? Raise your hand and say yes if you know you need a shift in mindset, right? If you want to go from not working out to working out 6 days a week, you could have the gym, you could have the strap, you could have all the stuff, but do you also need a different shift in your mindset to go from no working out to 6, 7 days a week? True? But if you said to people, hey, I could help you in business by shifting your mindset. I could help you get in better shape by shifting your mindset. No, that's not what they want. They want to be in better shape. They want to start the business. Make sense? So sometimes we have to sell them what they want, but you still want to always deliver what they need to really empower them. I hope that one landed with you guys, right? Basically, you just want to give people what they want and what they need, right? Your kids just want sweets, but they also need broccoli and really healthy food. So sometimes sometimes you make the healthy protein pancake, you put a little maple syrup on it because that's what they want, but they're getting the nutrition in the pancake. That's the best way I could describe it. I should have just said, put maple syrup on the pancake. Dark chocolate syrup on broccoli. Hey, if it works, right? So number one, in the yes message, your message matters. Just meet them where they are. Let them feel understood. Give them what they want and what they need. Make sense? Number two, elevate your offer. Elevate your offer. Could you turn the air down a degree? I'm getting warmed up in here. It's getting hot. Number two, elevate your offer. Number one is know their problems and assist in solving them. Now, it was a little bit redundant, but more, this is where we want to go to another level. We want to elevate what you do by really understanding the problem you're trying to solve. Yesterday, you guys did a solution statement. Isn't it cool that we all have the opportunity to run a business that solves other people's problems? Right? Most of what you guys do, you're solving a problem someone else has that you probably once had and you got through it. Right? But we really need to show them that we want to assist in solving that problem. So I would say, know your ideal client better than anyone else. Know what drives them nuts, what keeps them up at night, what are they worried about, and help them solve it. Can I give you a little secret? Usually it's just you of a few years ago or maybe a decade ago. A lot of times our ideal client is just us earlier on in life. Make sense? Okay, next one. If you know the problem that you solve for them, the next one is know their dreams and their goals and help fuel them. Right? Just think about yesterday, whatever your solution statement is, you can help solve that problem. But when some people get away from the problem, the next thing they want is their dreams and their goals. Just know them. Just know their dreams, know their goals. Their dreams could be to play piano. It could be to cut hair better. It could be a million things. We had someone who ran a class on teaching people how to paint with wolves. Painting calm wolves and she had wolves lay next to people while they were painting. That ended up being her business. She knew their dreams were to be painters in a calm way. She found a cool way. Hey, her retreat sold out. I wouldn't go paint with wolves, but I give her so much credit, right? She knew the problems she was solving. She knew the dreams that they had. And then the last one is make it so irresistible that people feel silly saying no. And when I really boiled that down, when I wrote that one, I thought about it. What does that mean? And I think these are all the things that I think through. And remember, you're not going to master this art with me just sharing. I want you to just give you some insight of what took me 30 years to figure out. What it really means is just create something you wish you had. Just create something you wish you had. When people say, should I add this? I don't know. Annie, would you have wanted it? Right? Barbara, would you have wanted it? Cassandra, would you have wanted it? Right? Teresa, would you have wanted it? That's the greatest gift for me. Don't just add. Put the things that you need, right? So step 2 is elevate it and make it irresistible. And then the third one is sell through service. Sell through service. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Stina. Right? This one, it might sound a little too foo-foo, maybe too fluffy for some of you. But my life changed forever when I started feeling this way. To fall in love with your customer. Think about it. I hope you can feel my caring and the way I try to deliver with the best version of me. I hope you feel it with Tony. You feel it with Jay. You feel it with everyone. When you fall in love with your client, when you fall in love with your customer, you step up everything that you do. You don't become a salesperson. You just become someone that's passionate about what you do. Think if you were selling something to a stranger or selling somebody you loved, your mom, your sister, your brother, your cousin. You just do it in a different way. And if you're trying to sell your parents to stop smoking, you are enthusiastic, you're energetic, you're doing everything in your power to get them to stop something that could hurt them. Or if you want them to get in better shape and you're trying to sell them to do it, you do it differently when you're in love with them, don't you? Is that true? Do you act differently? Do you talk differently when you care? So why not put that cast of emotions and love on top of the people you want to serve? Because you will treat them better. And when you fall in love with your customer, then the next thing to do is fall in love with the product or service. If you notice, there's a pattern. I keep tearing the same thing, because if you fall in love with it, you don't. It's not even like, oh, I need to talk about it. You can't shut up about something that you love. If you know it does the thing that people need, you're not going to have to think of a sales tactic, right, Tina? If you know that you can help somebody fall back in love or find intimacy in their relationship again, and you find people that lost their intimacy and they're about to break up a family and you can fix it, oh my God, you're like, hey, wait, like you're so excited. I got this. We can do this, right? It's not like, hey, let me figure out my sales pitch, right? So this is the secret that most people don't get. Most people are looking for the overcoming objections and how to sell hard, and all those things come in their own spot. But when you fall in love with your customer, fall in love with your product or service, and then lastly, fall in love with their outcomes and their results. Now, this is the last secret of it, because if you fall in love with their outcomes and then the results they get, then it's a crucial loop back to all the things, how you talk about it in a marketplace, and how you talk about it in a warm network, and how you talk about it on social media, because you know if people actually do the thing that you did because of your experience, not always your expertise, just I was there, I'm over here, I went through the maze, you don't have to. Then when you fall in love with that and you see the results, that's the part I was telling Jillian yesterday, then you actually feel bad not selling them. You feel bad not selling them. Is it making sense? I'm going to give you a real life example of this, one that really hit home. It's a cool story. Bring this up if you could. This is way back when Tony and I first started, probably 5 years ago. I first started in this industry helping people like we're doing here. It's probably 5 years ago. And Jamie Falali, I didn't know her at the time. She created a system on how to heal eczema in 5 steps. I think that's what it was. But one thing to know is I had the opportunity to do a hot seat with Jamie in an event just like this. And who knew the future that I'll tell you here? Again, I love, like I said, I can predict your future if you stay in the game, right? But long story short, I had to call her and she's like, but who am I to share this? I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. She's like, I'm not an expert, so-called expert. I'm like, well, tell me your story. But she had an expertise. She had experience because her son suffered from eczema really bad, and the steroids and all the stuff they were giving him, she just couldn't handle it. She wanted to do it naturally, right? And she obsessed on the healing the gut and what to put on the skin and what shampoo and what deodorant and all the stuff that she used. She really obsessed to make her son okay. And I'm like, who would somebody want to learn from? A so-called expert or a mom who spent every day doing it? So that was a conversation we had. Who would have known that probably a year after, that's our little boy, Luca. And that's when he was first born. He's 5 now. But he was born with severe eczema. So bad that we had to put gloves on him. If anybody knows anybody with eczema at night, he would rip his face up, rip his arms up, right? And and as a parent, and I feel great, we have great resources, you try everything to solve it, true? Right? We would do anything for our kids, and we tried everything, and we were making some progress, for sure making progress, and my wife made it her absolute mission. But I got to tell you, one day I came home, and my wife was watching Jamie because she went and bought her course. My wife's like, hey, I was on the mastermind platform, and I bought this woman Jamie's course. She goes, I knew a lot of it. But babe, I didn't know. And she had a paper next to her. She said, I didn't know this. I didn't know this. I'm going to check into this. Talk about a full circle moment. And it makes me think about, what if Jamie What if I didn't get the chance to have a hot seat with Jamie that day? I don't know if she would have done it. And it would have actually been a disservice to my kids, to other kids, because she discovered cool stuff along her mess. She was on her own journey. She had her own mess, and she learned things that allowed my wife to go faster. So when I see this story, I think about, oh my gosh, all of you. I'm watching all these beautiful faces. Each of you have an experience that can allow someone to go faster. Now, my little boy, Luca, now we have I just an excuse to show my family. But that's my little boy, Luca, now. He's 5. And my little girl, Vida. She has eczema too, but not as bad as her brother. That's my whole family. It's just an excuse to show my family that I love so much. But the fact of the matter is, you have something right now that can allow somebody to shortcut their life. And when you love something, don't you want to share it? Don't you want other people to say, heck yes, I'm in? And that's exactly what we get to do. We have the opportunity to do this for a living. So let's reflect a little. Look how far we've come over the last 2 days, and we still got an amazing day. Matthew McConaughey, all kinds of great stuff. But I know I might be going a little fast, but on day 1, you discovered the knowledge you're going to share and who you should share it with, right? You just discovered how you want to deliver it, your teaching topics. Played with Gigi on how to go faster. Again, Jillian made us realize if she could do it, anyone could do it. That you just got to start, you just got to do it. Tony got us in our hearts. And what I hoped you learned today so far, I hope you have further proof that no matter where you start, you could end up creating impact.